Bruchim haboim, welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Lamed Zayin Amud Beis, 13 lines from the top. The Gemara revisits its discussion about Chavitz Kedei, which we began one daf before on Daf Lamed Vav Amud Beis, towards the bottom. What is Chavitz Kedeira? Chavitz Kedeira is a tavshil with flour, honey, and oil. The Gemara has a discussion, what is the proper bracha for this tavshil? Says the Gemara, Omar Rave, hi rihata. The Chavitz Kedeira is referred to as rihata, running, because it's a loose mixture. The chakloi, the mafshibe kimcha mevarich borei minim zonos. The Chavitz Kedeira of Bnei Kfar, of the villagers, who would add a lot of flour, would make a bracha borei minim zonos. My taima, the smida ikar, because the flour is the ikar ingredient. That's the roiv of this tavshil. The mechuza, the loy mafshi be kimcha. In the city where they would not add a lot of flour, mevarech alav shehakol nihye bidvoroi. They make a bracha shehakol. My time, I asked the Gemara, duvsha ikar, because the davash, the honey, is the ikar, and therefore, since that's the roiv of this tavshil, although you have also flour and oil in it, but they are just the miut, and therefore you make a bracha of shahakol. V'hodamar Rava retracts, and he says, Idi v'idi borei minei mizonos. This and that, no matter how much flour is in this tavshil, whether it's a rov or a miut, it will still require a bracha borei minei mizonos. The Rav Shmuel, the Amrei Travaihu, Kol sheyesh boy mechameshes haminin mevarchin alov borei minei mizonos. Rav and Shmuel taught us the principle that Kol sheyesh boy mechameshes haminim, anything that contains in it of the 5 minim, which means wheat, barley, spelt, oats, or rye, then it will get the designation of borei minei mizonos, even if it's going to be a miut. Now, Rav and Shmuel also had another statement that said, Kol shehu mechameshes minin mevarchin ala borei minei mizonos, which sounds to be exactly the same. To which the Gemara explained, no, there's a difference. Because if I only had the statement of Kol shehu, that would imply only if the mizonos is be'ein, it's intact, then you make borei minei mizonos. But if it's just mixed in, you would not make the borei minei mizonos. Therefore, it teaches us both statements. So the Gemara says, why not just teach then Kol sheyesh boy, and I'll know, therefore, even if it's something that's mixed in. The Gemara explains, because if I had only that statement, I would think that orez, when it comes to rice, that which is mixed in is not going to then get borei minei mizonos. But if it's be'ein, if it's something that's intact, the rice is intact, it would get borei minei mizonos. Kamash malan kol shehu. That's how the Gemara said it then. However, the Gemara subsequently brought a refutation to that statement. Now I'm bringing this to show that although the Gemara refuted, brought it to Yufta, to Rav Shmuel, it was only in regards to the Orez, because Orez indeed, Lefida Maskana, gets the bracha borei minei mizonos. But in regards to the statement of Rav and Shmuel that said Kol sheyesh boy, any tavshil, any dish that includes mizonos of the 5 grains will get this bracha, even if it's just going to be a miut. Says the Gemara weiter, Om Rav Yosef, Hai Chavitza, Diis Bei Perurin, Kezayis, Betchila Mevarech Alav Hamoitzi Lechem Min Haaretz, Ulvasoif Mevarech Alav Sholosh Brochos. Rav Yosef says, Chavitza. What is Chavitza? Chavitza is a tavshil that has in it pieces of bread that are cooked together. So he says, if those pieces of bread have the size of a kazayis or more, then this tavshil would be the brach of hamoitzi and birkas hamozon. Says the Gemara, the lesbe pirur and kazayis. But if it does not have the size of a kazayis, betchila mevarich ala borei minei mizonos, ulvasoif brocha achas me'ein sholosh. But if it does not have the size of kazayis, then it will get the designation of borei minei mizonos and ala michya. Where do I know to say that it's dependent on the size of these pieces of bread? That if it's a kazayis or more, then it'll get hamoitzi, and if it's less, then it'll be borei mine mizonos. The Tanya, it teaches in the following brisa. Haya oimeid umakriv minochos b'Yushalayim. A person wants to bring a korban mincha. So he comes to Yerushalayim, and he hasn't been to Yerushalayim, he hasn't brought a korban mincha in a long time. Oimer, he says, Baruch shehechayonu v'kiyemonu v'higiyonu lazman hazeh. He makes a brach of shehechayonu. Subsequently, notlon la'achlin. The kohanim take the mincha in order then to eat it because it's off limits to a non-kohen. Mevarech hamoitzi lechem min haaretz. And the kohen makes a bracha of hamoitzi. V'tani Allah, and the Mishnah in Menachos teaches, V'kulon poiteton kazayis. All of these pieces are pieces of a kazayis. Now, what is it referring to? So, the korban mincha, let's say it was baked. So, once it's baked, before the kohen puts his hand in and scoops out what's called a kemitza, takes a full handful, it's broken up into pieces, and then he subsequently makes the kemitza. It says over here that these pieces that are broken into, these are pieces that are the size of a kezayis. So then the Gemara goes on to say, Omalei Abai Elameyato Letan de Rabbi Yishmael, that which was taught in the Beis Medrash Rabbi Yishmael, the Omar Purchon Asher Machziron L'Sultan, that you break it into small pieces until it becomes like flour. In other words, that they hold that indeed this would be broken into small pieces, and then the kohen would then scoop out his kemitza. Then so too, then it would not require the brach of hamoitzi lechem min haaretz, according to what you're saying, because it's not the full kazayis. Yet, according to Rabbi Yishmael, we see that indeed, even when it's less than a kazayis, it gets the brach of hamoitzi. V'chiteim hachanami, you'll say, indeed this is so. V'hatanya, lokat mikulam kazayis v'ochlon. That indeed it says that if he is loiket, if he takes from all of these small pieces the amount of a kazayis, and he eats it, so it has the din of bread of lechem. So it says in the following, Im chametz hu onesh kores, v'imatza hu adam yotzi b'dei chavasa b'pesach. It has the designation of bread because if indeed a person will eat the size of a kazayis on Leil HaSeder for his matzah, he's yotzi lechem oini, his requirement to eat matzah and fulfill the mitzvah of ba'erev toichlu matzos. Says the Gemara, we're talking about where he formed these pieces of bread, these pieces, not bread, but these pieces into one piece of dough. He put into a piece of dough. And therefore that's why it was a full kazayis, and he made hamoitzi. Says the Gemara, then the Sefer reads the following, V'hu achlon b'kedei achilas pras, and he ate them, the shear of achilas pras, to either be yotzei his mitzvah of matzah on Leil HaSeder, or to be chayiv kores, he had to eat a kazayis in the time of achilas pras. V'i b'sha'arson, and if it was indeed made into one piece of dough, it shouldn't say he ate them, which is lashon rabim plural, because it was all one piece. It was all one piece together. Instead, it should have said he ate it, and it doesn't say that in the brisa. Hachamayaskina answers the Gemara. You're right. We have to explain a different ukimta. Beba milechem gadol. We're talking about when it came from a large piece, a large loaf of bread, and it was taken off from this large piece of bread, and the bread that was taken off from still has a full kazayis or more. And therefore, that those pieces have the same chashivus of coming from that large piece of bread, whereby it gets the brach of hamoitzi. My Hava, Allah asked the Gemara, what's the conclusion? What comes out? Rav Sheishes, Hai chavitza, afal gav the less bei peruin, kazayis mevarch alav hamoitzi lechem min haaretz. Even if it does not have the size of a kazayis, this will still then mechayiv a bracha of hamoitzi. Omarava vehu the ika alei teresa de nahama. Rava qualifies so long as it still has the appearance of bread. But if it was cooked so much that it doesn't have the appearance of bread, then it will not have the bracha of hamoitzi. And one of the simonim that's given for this, that loses its appearance of bread, if it was to be soaked in water and the water would become whitened, then it's no longer considered to be tu'ura de nahama.